I'm not gonna swear an oath I can't uphold. When enough people make false promises, words stop meaning anything. Then there are no more answers and only better and better lies. Sorry about that. I know some of you enjoy my Jon Snow impression. I know some of you don't. But for this video, we're going to be discussing 3 of the total 6 teasers that we're supposedly going to get right around December 21st. Now, this information is to be taken with a grain of salt because it was sent to me on the DMs over on Twitter. Make sure you go follow me. And like I've stated before, all of that information can be a load of horseshit. As always, here's your spoiler warning. Before we get started, please make sure you slap a like on this video as the like goal is going to be 420, but also, this is the most important part, make sure you're subscribed and also have your notifications turned on so that way you get alerted and are aware whenever I drop a new Game of Thrones video to help fend off this long night. Okay, so jumping right into this, we're going to be discussing a promo, supposedly, and I'm always doing air quotations, but a promo for Cersei, Arya, and Daenerys. And the remaining 2 are Cersei and Tyrion, and I covered Jon Snow's in this last video. Click this link right up here or down below in the description and you can go and watch that video. The part that I talk about Jon Snow's promo is in the first half of that video. So starting off with Daenerys, just because she's my favorite human being of all time, Emilia Clarke, girl, come on, let's go out for dinner sometime. But anyway, Daenerys' promo starts out with a slow motion walk through the dead of winter. Now, if you remember last time with Jon Snow, his was more like a bleak, dark hallway. But anyway, with Daenerys's, Viserion can supposedly be seen in an undead form staring at her as she walks. Now, she's walking towards the camera, so it doesn't mention whether she looks back at Viserion or whether this is more of just like a dream state, so everything kind of doesn't make actual sense, and you know, we're just watching Viserion watch his mother, and it's sort of just setting us up for that next season. But anyway, it goes on to say that the quote that is playing while she walks through the dead of winter is, "I've spent years planning to break the wheel. All of it means nothing." And that's sort of, and then the trailer just sort of cuts to black. But like I mentioned in my last video, the main focus of these promos is supposedly meant to show off and showcase their new costumes and a bit of their mindset going into the next season. So if Daenerys is mentioning how, you know, she's been building up almost her whole life to come over to Westeros and break the wheel, little does she know it doesn't really mean anything, because this whole time when she gets there, she's gonna have to fight the undead. But they mentioned that her costume is completely changed. Instead of wearing that famous white fur coat, if you remember, we actually got, you know, the first official high resolution image from Entertainment Weekly for Game of Thrones season 8, and she's wearing that white coat still, and it just, they changed the inseams of it to have more of like a red appeal to, you know, show more of her Targaryen side. But he says that's completely changed. Instead of wearing that, she has on what appears to be a black dress type thing with deep red tones, and on her neckline, you can see, this is the most important part, as you can tell my voice just got crazy amplified there, but there's a direwolf sigil beside her 3-headed dragon pendant. Now, even if every single last word from these leaks are horseshit, which there's like a 99.9% chance that they are, that would be fucking insane if Daenerys is in fact taking on this direwolf sigil. Now, we do know that her and Jon Snow consummated, and I don't really think that that was just like a one-night boat sex hookup. I'm pretty sure these two are going to be together until the end of this series or until the very end of their life. Now, the fact that Daenerys would be so openly and so willingly rock a direwolf sigil, I don't really know about that. Maybe after her and Jon Snow get married. In my opinion, once she finds out, or if she finds out that he's a Targaryen, and once he finds out that he's a Targaryen, I still don't 100% know if he's going to embrace that. Like, it'll give him a little bit of back, you know, I guess confidence, but Jon Snow is who he is, and he's always going to be that person. Even death can't change him. So just to sort of reiterate here, Daenerys is supposedly dishing this white coat, or at least for the promo. Maybe at some point later on in the season she picks it back up, but in the promo she's said to be wearing a black dress type thing with a bunch of red, deep red underlays, and also a Stark and her traditional Targaryen sigil can be seen. Now, next up is Cersei, and the way that this person describes what Cersei's wearing in the promo kind of lines up with these images that we were seeing way back when Game of Thrones Season 8 first started filming. I believe it was almost last year at this point. But in Cersei's promo, it's mentioned that she's slow motion walking through a snowy backdrop. Now, it says snowy backdrop and not dead of winter, so maybe there's a difference in between the two. So maybe Daenerys' scene is supposed to be north of the wall, and Cersei's is just supposed to be like a snow-covered King's Landing. But anyway, the quote that plays as she's walking says, "I've always fought for a house and will continue to do so, even if death comes for me." We then see her new armor-laden dress. It's blue like last season, but has 2 lions embroidered at the top, and it sort of connects the 2 sabatons, which we can see in this leaked image. I forgot to touch on it with Daenerys, but the validity of her quote, saying I've tried this whole time to break the wheel and all of it's been for nothing, that 100% seems legitimate. If she doesn't have that as her mindset next season, then maybe she'll plan on going and still trying to conquer Westeros. But I'm pretty sure the main thing on her and Jon Snow's plate is going to be defeating the army of the dead. So this brings me to Cersei's quote, where they're saying that I'm going to continue to fight for my house, even if it brings me death. Now this could be one of 2 things. She could be saying this to Jaime, and more likely she's saying this to Qyburn. Maybe Qyburn in this point in the season is suggesting to her, look, my queen, we've done all that we can. If you want to get out of here with your life, we need to leave now. We need to make plans immediately to evacuate King's Landing. Not only is the Night King coming, but most likely Daenerys and Jon Snow are going to come down here, and even after they defeat the Night King, you think they're just going to let Cersei live? No, obviously they're going to kill her. So maybe, Qyburn or whoever close to Cersei is telling her this information, and she retorts with the, I'm going to continue fighting for my house, even if it brings me death. She does know, just like how Sandor told his brother last season, she knows that death is coming for her. And to be honest, there's really no other way out of this world for her. It's definitely going to be death. Now, I've always theorized and predicted that I wanted her to sort of survive until the end, because I saw her at her most human when she was put in that cell and then walked through the streets and had shit smeared on her. That was when Cersei was the most human, but instead of being a normal person and maybe trying to change themselves, obviously they did something to put that situation on them. Instead of trying to save themselves, she got worse and blew up a small portion of the city. So when I tell myself that, I realize that there's no way she's making it out of this story alive. As far as how much I believe that quote is legit, I mean, that's not really. It kind of raised red flags for the fact that she said she's been fighting for her house this whole time. We all know that's a load of horseshit. Cersei's been fighting for herself, but in Cersei's defense, or in her character's defense rather, she is a little bit, self-involved, and someone who's psychopathic and crazy like she is, they wouldn't really be able to see a clear picture. So maybe in her mind, she's been fighting for her family when everyone else, and in all reality, she's been fighting for herself. So maybe that gives this little line, I guess, in the teaser a bit more credibility, but you guys let me know what you think down below. Okay, and then last but most certainly not least, we have Arya Stark. Now, Arya, just like the other 3 that I've listed, are going to be doing a slow-mo walk through, this time, what appears to be the Crypts of Winterfell. Now, it's not exactly clear if we can see, like, Ned's statue, or if maybe we can see some new additions that make it clear that this is the Crypts of Winterfell, but it looks like a deep, dark, cave, and we're meant to believe that it's the Crypts of Winterfell. And then the line that plays while she's doing her slow-mo walk is, if I don't take this chance now, I'll never have this opportunity again. Now he goes on to say that this is a very similar costume to last season, except it's all been dyed black, and it has the addition of a very large direwolf sigil on her chest. And most important thing of note here is that she has a new scar across her eye. All you can see in the background as she walks is red eyes peering at her. Now, as you can tell, Arya is my favorite character, but I saved this little leak for last because it's a little bit of the most unbelievable. Now, I will say that when it comes to spoilers with Arya's character, like when they show her in promo photos, they did show her with the cat's paw dagger very early on in season 7, before the season even premiered, and that's kind of a huge spoiler because it kind of confirmed that she was going to be back at Winterfell with House Stark. We kind of knew it was going that way anyway, but we weren't sure if she was going to continue her vengeance or go home. That confirmed that she went home because we know that Littlefinger was with Sansa, and Littlefinger was the last person that had that dagger. So if they're going to show something as spoilery as a new scar on her face, now it's mentioned that the scar is a little bit red and almost looks like it's relatively fresh. So if they're going to show something like that, kind of a big spoiler in the promo, maybe they'll do it with Arya. I do know that Maisie Williams is an amazing person, and she's mentioned before that she kind of wants to just go up to some random fan and spoil the entire ending of Game of Thrones and just tell them everything about who lives and who dies and, all the big twists. Maisie, I volunteer to be that person. I will willingly ruin my fan experience for 2019 if you want to tell me what the fuck happens in the finale. 100%. And also maybe we can go grab some dinner afterwards. But seriously, if you want to do that, I'll be that person. So getting back on track here, I 100% call bullshit on the scar being on her face. As far as the red eyes staring back at her, now that really doesn't kind of make much sense. We do know that her direwolf does not have red eyes and that Ghost does. So maybe if this is legit, which it's not, but if it is, maybe this is signifying that her biggest, like, climactic point next season will take place in the Crypts of Winterfell, or maybe alongside Ghost and some of the other direwolves. We do know that Nymeria is back, and she met back with her last season, and Nymeria knew it wasn't time for her to go home yet. So maybe, just maybe, that's what this is alluding to. And then lastly, we have, the quote, which is basically, if I don't take this opportunity now, I'll never have this chance again. Not verbatim, but I don't really know how credible that is, because from what it seems to me, at the end of season 7, Arya is going to be doing whatever she can to better House Stark, and this quote sort of makes it sound like she's about to, split off from them, become the lone wolf, and go do something stupid. And I don't know if that'd be too much of a backstep for a character. Do you guys let me know what you think about that down below in the comment section? Alright, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 420, and then also, most importantly, please subscribe, and then make sure you have your notifications turned on, so that way you get alerted and are aware of every single time I drop a Game of Thrones video to help you fend off this long nights. Super special shout out to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. Super special shout out to every single person watching this video. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Fender of the Long Nights Reviews.